What's up, guys? Today I'm here with Abraham, and we're going to react to a video called How Mark Cuban Makes $1,275,100,000 a year.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, almost as much as you. No.
I wish.
All right, you ready?
You probably know Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, and maybe you know that he's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, but did you know that he bought $1 billion in Amazon stock? In this video, I'm going to be looking at exactly how Mark Cuban makes over $1 billion from all of his business ventures. Let's dive in.
How much do you know about Mark Cuban besides owning the Mavericks and being on Shark Tank? Do you know much?
I know a decent amount.
Yeah, I don't know. I know obviously the Dallas Mavericks, and of course I watched Shark Tank.
Yeah, I know like how he made his first billion. I know that.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. I don't even know all that.
He paid Dallas Mavericks for $285 million. The Mavericks only won 40% of their games and had a horrible playoff record of 21-32. And in the 10 years from when he bought the team won over 69% of their regular season games, reached the playoffs in 9 of those 10 years. According to Forbes, and this is wild, the annual estimated revenue of the Dallas Mavs is over $307 million a year. But the operating income, this is the profit that they're taking after wages of the players, cost of good, popcorn, whatever it is $105 million.
You know, that's such a smart team to buy because Dallas is the like 4th or 5th biggest city in the country. And like you figure of all NBA teams, you want to get the ones that are in the biggest cities.
Right.
Like that's just a steal because the team just wasn't good. But it was like had the best upside because it was, you know, one of the biggest cities.
Yeah.
There's not many other teams you could buy.
So next up is Shark Tank. Yes, you've heard about it. We have some details here that were fascinating to learn. So he's been a shark. It's a shark like that. Since 2011, he's invested in over 85 deals for a total of almost $20 million. Let's take a look at some of the companies he invested in to see if there's any that any of us are familiar with. Group Hug, Nada, Coconut Girl, Nope. Dude Wives, yes, I love those guys. So cool to see them here. I think sometimes what always blows my mind is, one, not every company works out, but two, how many companies are making money that are doing well that we've never heard of?
I love watching Shark Tank. I mean, I haven't really watched it much the last few years, but like in the beginning, I watched it all the time. I think he's probably one of the first ones on there.
Yeah, I think he was
on there from the beginning.
Yeah.
I know like he has more money than every other shark put together.
So I actually Googled it because I was curious to see the actual numbers. So his net worth is $4.8 billion. That's his net worth.
Crazy.
The other shark's net worth combined is $1.2 billion. So he's 4 times as rich as everyone else put together. And like you would look at any of those guys individually and be like, man, you're rich as fuck. You know?
Yeah, I mean, he's really strategic with how he does everything because he waits for everybody else to be done, and he's always like the last one, and he's never emotional about everything.
Yeah.
He's very like logical.
Yeah.
And like
he's also a bully. Like if he wants the deal, like he has so much more money than everybody else. It's like I can do whatever I want.
He'll just pay whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he thinks his upside, you know, and everybody wants to do it with Mark Cuban. It's just cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Top 3 deals which he invested at least $1 million in is 1031 Productions, Rugged Maniac Obstacle Course, and Beatbox Beverages. I actually have heard of those guys. I didn't really see them listed here. So I'm actually gonna make a separate video where I review Mark's most successful investments from Shark Tank. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Each season, there's around 22 episodes, which the beauty of this is he's getting paid to go check out companies. We're estimating he makes around $50,000 an episode. So 22 episodes times the $50,000.
50,000. It's almost laughable. Like you don't give it.
Yeah,
it's like 50,000 episodes. I mean, that's not even 1/10 of 1% of what he's
So man, I'd read this, and I'm definitely gonna butcher this for sure. But so let's say like a million and a billion, and we equated them into seconds. A million seconds is like 11 days. A billion seconds is like 30 years.
Yeah.
That's like it's just such a big like.
It's crazy. Who's the second richest person on Shark Tank? You know?
It's Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin is?
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary. But it's like he's like worth $500,000. Yeah.
$500 million.
$500 million. Sorry.
$500 million. He's not going to be doing much deals. Yeah.
So how much is he actually making from all the investments on top of getting paid to be on the show? We're estimating around a 15% return on his initial investments. So if you take the $19 million that he's put into all these different companies times the 1.15 we're estimating his return, it looks like the total return from all these investments will be around $69 million. If you take out his original $19 million investment, makes he's made almost $50 million in the past 10 years for an average yearly return of $5 million from his Shark Tank investment.
So that's so funny because it's a small amount. It's like doesn't even matter. But I think a lot of the value is like that was a lot of recognition for him.
A ton of recognition.
I mean, I know people know him as the Mavs, but I think that has to do with him being so public in Shark Tank, and people are like, oh, it's a guy on Shark Tank that owns the Mavs.
Yeah.
Think about this. How did you actually hear about Mark Cuban? Yeah, it's probably from Shark Tank. So if you take the math from his salary plus the return on his investments, it's over $6 million a year. And it's amazing how Marcus parlayed literally his first business selling computers, then he did it into broadcast, sold it into Yahoo, into such an amazing array of companies. I want to be like Mark.
That was how he made his first billion. He said it really quickly.
First billion?
Yeah, his first billion. He basically made this company, and it was the first like live broadcasting company, and he sold it to Yahoo Sports. I think it was like a couple $2 billion acquisition.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
So stock market, I mentioned this in the beginning. This was nuts to find out. So Mark Cuban does not play with the stock market much anymore, but he's actually massively invested in 2 companies that have blown up since his initial investment. So what is his actual investment strategy? And this is something that's beautiful that I think we can all learn from. He sticks with companies he believes in. So he's owned 2 companies. One is Netflix stock, and he's owned it since 2009 when it was $50 a share. Today, Netflix is worth $557, giving him a roughly 1,000% return on that investment. And we don't have numbers on his Netflix shares, so we'll leave that out of our calculation. But what we do know is that in 2019, Mark said he owned $1 billion of Amazon stock, which was about 600,000 shares. He's apparently been buying Amazon stock since it was $500 a share in 2015. Today, Amazon stock is $3,300. That is wild.
So what he's saying is he only has 2 different stocks that he's really ever bought. He just keeps buying.
Which is crazy.
He doesn't sound like he's selling it ever. He just keeps buying more.
Yeah.
Wow. So.
That's pretty well. I mean, I've never heard that strategy. Usually people are like, oh, if you're in the stock market, you got to diverse your stocks. But
I guess if you have a solid business, you know, I mean, Amazon's
going nowhere.
Yeah. How can it? It's like dominating the world, you know?
Right.
And Netflix, I mean, I don't know if Netflix is ever going to be dominated.
Yeah, it's dominating that industry for sure.
Yeah. But that industry changes so much. Like, it could change overnight. Like, you know, with Blockbuster was dominating it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. I mean,
right.
Netflix, I mean, there's so many streaming other things that could, who knows? That industry, I could see.
Disney Plus, Apple TV.
There's just so many things. Yeah. I mean, I could see Netflix being good forever, and I could definitely see it like in 10 years.
Wavering, yeah.
Yeah, I could see it in a spot. Who knows? You know, they have to stay on top of everything.
Right.
But yeah, Amazon, no one could possibly ever take that over.
So next up is 2929 Entertainment. This is co-founded by him and Todd Wagner, who he started broadcast.com with before they sold it to Yahoo. This company is a vertically integrated film production and distribution company. So what does that even mean? It means simply they buy companies at every step of the movie business, from the production to the theaters to the actual streaming platform.
So that 2929, that's something he did totally later after the Yahoo Sports thing.
Yeah, I actually never heard of this.
Yeah, I never did. Okay.
One thing regarding industries, by the way, and this is something important, is sometimes the most sexy industries make a lot less money than you think. So something I always tell myself and encourage everyone else out there is think more boring. More boring is more money.
So that's actually something that like Cody Sanchez is like, I think that's her brand. Almost. 5 boring businesses. That's like her thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I mean, I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think necessarily that has to be. I don't think it's exclusive, but I understand what they're saying.
The reason why you buy boring businesses is because there's less people that want them. So
yeah.
like you guys have more leverage to get better deals because everybody wants to go after the hot, sexy businesses. So like there's just more demand, more.
Yeah, I'd also think that they're probably less fad based, right? Like the boring businesses are probably ones that like have been around forever and will always be around, as opposed to things that like the sexy new thing is.
And the boring ones are the ones that like when someone retires, like their kids don't want to take it over. So it's a lot more room there to get deals.
By the way, he also does angel investing on top of his Shark Tank investments. He invests aggressively in tech startups. So Mark has surprisingly done over 343 investments in the years, and he's had over 77 exits. That's a really impressive track record. So one thing that's really interesting that Mark has done that I think for yourself is if you want to get more deals, if you want to meet more people, a great thing to do is blog just like Mark or YouTube and put yourself out there. It gets you way more interesting.
That's for sure like 101. Like you should definitely need to put your name out there. Talk as much as possible. Be on as many YouTube, social medias, podcast, whatever, Zooms, and as people see you out there, then people are going to want to do more stuff with you.
Right.
So let's take a look. Hopefully it's a beautiful pie chart covering my face. This is a pie company in Austin, Texas. First off, Dallas Mavericks owner, he's making over $200 million a year from that. 2929 Entertainment, $16 million a year. Within Shark Tank, he gets $1 million just for showing up, and we're estimating around a $5 million a year return from those investments. And then his investments in the public companies like Amazon, he's made over $800 million. That was just in 1 year. So the total yearly revenue that Mark has been creating for himself just in 1 year alone is $1 billion. Are these numbers right?
The $800 million that he made in Amazon, that's not every year, is it? He doesn't make $800 million every year.
I think he looked at 1 year, probably.
So he looked at it like one of the best years.
Yeah, he probably looked, well, this was made a year ago, so I'm thinking maybe he looked at it during COVID, and like Amazon, I think, did really well during COVID.
Amazon blew up.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. $1,275,100,000. That last 100,000 is the hardest. Quick disclaimer, by the way, this is revenue, not profit, and in things like his Mavericks ownership plus his Amazon stock are asset gains. He hasn't actually collected those monies yet. He hasn't sold them. So one giant ass lesson from Mark: do not try to go make a quick buck. I know maybe you saw a YouTube ad that showed up and selling you a course, or some guy that says you can get rich over here, but really go for the long-term billions.
If he made his first billion by 1999 and he was 41, that puts him at, he's 65. He's a senior citizen.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I actually didn't
He
even
doesn't
think
look
about
like
that. He
65.
doesn't look that
He
old.
looks in great shape. For
Yeah.
65.
He does look good. Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. There's a couple things that, you know, that was made a year ago. There's a couple things that I had read that I thought were super interesting that he didn't talk about. Mark Cuban is like one of those guys that's like, he'll just out of principle do things because of impact or because he just feels like it, even if it doesn't necessarily make like a lot of monetary sense. And one of those things that he's doing this thing called cost plus drugs. I don't know if you know who the Pharma Bros are. It was like this guy named Martin Shkreli who had this huge pharmacy company, and he took this one drug that they had the licenses and all the rights to, that was a life dependent drug, and overnight 4,000x how much it costs to like consumers. So then people couldn't afford it, insurance, even like their copay people couldn't afford.
Right.
So Mark Cuban saw that, was like inspired and was like, well, I want to do something to where that never happens again. So what he did was he created his own pharmacy company, and he's completely transparent with his prices and his margins, which is never like, that's not what the pharmacy industry is done for. He's like, this is like not a horrible business model, because he thinks he'll still make money, but it's horrible in the sense of you could be making way more.
Right.
But he's like, I never want this industry to be impacted in that way. So he does stuff like that where it's just like, you know, philanthropical to like help out the society. So I think that's super cool and something that Noah didn't really mention.
Doesn't sound like he makes that much money doing it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, but no, that's a cool thing to do. That's a super cool thing to do. I like him a lot. He's probably one of my favorite like people that I've studied. I remember I read this article and it basically said like he was doing this charity basketball event and he was getting pissed about how the Mavs were playing in it, and he cussed, and someone came up to him and was like, hey Mark, just want to let you know that we have to fine you $30,000 because you just cussed on national television. And he's like, where does the money go? They're like, oh, it goes to the charity because it's a charity event. He's like, wait, so if I do it again, it'll happen again? So he's like, fuck shit. He donated like however much money. But no, you're just a cool dude. All right, cool. So if you guys like this video, let us know who else you guys want us to react to and see how much money they make. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and let us know what other videos you want to see.